Thank you for tuning into Michigan Pool News today. We have Belinda Schmieg with S.R. Smith. She's a regional sales manager, and we're going to talk a little bit about the ADA law and some of the updates and kind of a Q&A. This kind of piggybacks a conference that we had in the beginning of the spring. First of all, I'd like to thank Belinda for coming aboard and taking the time to speak with us. So how are you today, Belinda?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you again. Thank you for taking the time to do this.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, there's obviously been a lot going on in the last couple months with the law. Couple right off the bat, has there been any changes or any revisions to the ADA compliance?
There has not been any revisions. Basically, this is law, and it is not going to be changed. We have a lot of questions on the dealer end and on the hotel end, where they typically are under the impression that the law is going to change, and it is not going to.
Okay, with that said, kind of moving into the next question, when we had our seminar before and you were talking about that, there was some gray area or some confusion or just some questions as regards how this relates to country clubs and swim clubs.
That is correct. Basically, there are homeowners associations, country clubs, apartments, and condos that all fall under the Fair Housing Act, but they have, there are situations where they do not have to, where they do have to comply.
Okay.
Homeowners associations, country clubs, apartments, and condos, if they rent out their pool to the outside public, they are going to have to comply. If they receive any kind of federal funding, they are going to have to comply. And in regards to condominiums, if they act as a hotel, basically like a timeshare, they are going to have to comply also.
Well, along the lines of renting it out, let's say for a swim club that has meets that come in and so forth, how do you interpret that then? Because that's a question that we are being asked.
Well, one of the things that has happened is there's been a lot of country clubs and homeowners associations that have, which is a great resource to call www.ada.gov, because S.R. Smith and Aquatic Source don't want to make that call for them. We encourage them to call the ada.gov, but many of these homeowner associations and country clubs have called and said, well, we host a swim meet, but it's against other country clubs or it's against other homeowners associations. And in one aspect, the ADA said you have to comply, and another phone call said they did not have to comply. Some of these homeowners associations asked for that in writing, and they were unable to obtain that. The ADA did not want to put that into writing. So we refer them back to their legal counsel at that point.
Do you think this will play itself out as when this really takes hold in the upcoming months? Do you think there'll be more clarity on this, or do you think it's going to be?
We are not sure. One of the things, John Caden, who held the previous seminar, is literally working to try to get an appointment with the ADA so that we can, and the Department of Justice, so maybe some of these gray areas can be spelled out, but at this time, nothing is scheduled.
Those particular sites aside, obviously with the schools and municipalities and so forth, obviously they have to comply. Some of the questions we've been asking is, who is going to be enforcing this law?
Basically, this law was written by the Department of Justice, and most local areas are not going to be enforcing this. This is going to be enforced by the handicapped themselves, who are huge advocates for their rights, or you're going to have attorneys that are going to be going after this. Since the law affects more than just swimming pools, this compliance is something that they're going to have to do. Typically, you're looking at, the law is written that if they do not comply and suit is brought against them, they will be forced to comply and have to reimburse for all billable hours. Now, there are fines just depending. The first fine can be up to $50,000. So purchasing a pool lift, if that's what makes you compliant, is a lot cheaper than reimbursing for attorney fees or having to face fines.
That's what we see on some of the sites. A couple of the universities that purchase the lifts right off the bat, they just don't want to go through the hassle, or not, shouldn't say the hassle, but go take that chance, so to speak. They know they have to do it. They're going to do it, and call it a day. And speaking with our local, or our DEQ here, that's kind of what their mentality was. That this is a Department of Justice handicap. It's a whole separate issue other than us. But they'll be noting probably down the road with no different than with the VGB, how they made record of that and so forth. So all in all, this can't be swept under the rug. It's going to have to be addressed at one time or the other. And just kind of like you said, different parties will be involved in doing the inspections, and then you got to have a game plan in place to do this.
Absolutely. There are attorneys out there that this is what they do for a living, to make money, and they know that this is coming about, and they will literally they hire handicapped people to go out and just survey the different facilities that are supposed to be compliant.
Interesting. With that said, and we see a lot of the different, lifts out there, how do you know, obviously other than having this saying it's ADA compliant, how do you know that a handicap lift is ADA compliant?
That is a very good question, Todd. One of the things that are out there, we have a new website. It is www.poollifts.com. And we have an ADA inspection card that is available for anybody to find out. You can order that, and that really kind of spells out what a pool lift is required to be made of in order to be compliant. First of all, there has to, from the middle of the seat to the edge of the pool deck, there has to be 16 inches minimum. In regards to the deck clearance, which the deck clearance is very important because you have to be able to wheel a wheelchair up next to it without any obstruction. It's 36 by 48 by 36. And all of these laws are listed on the ADA inspection card on the back page. It literally goes lists every single law that makes these compliant. An example, armrests are not required, but footrest must be provided and move with the seat. The lift shall be capable of unassisted operation from both the deck and the water levels. Many of the lifts that are out there claim compliance. SR Smith has put all of our lifts through third-party testing, and certificates of ADA compliance are available. And I encourage anybody who is selling the lift, because there are different companies that will pop up or that are in existence that do not supply this guaranteed certification. So it's more of a buyer beware and following these guidelines.
Good. A couple more questions for you, Belinda. With the, let's say, and this was asked at the seminar as well, I have a site or a facility with multiple bodies of water in the same area. What should I do?
Well, we don't want to be the ones, again, this is where the gray area can be interpreted. Obviously, they want to meet compliance on the swimming pool. If you have a swimming pool that is over 300 linear feet, 2 points of access have to be provided. The first point of access is your primary. It can be a self-operable lift or a sloped entry. And that sloped entry needs to be a maximum of a 1 to 12 slope with handrails. Then you're going to have to go to a secondary, which is a second self-operable lift, a transfer wall, a transfer system, or the handicap stairs. In regards to this, if you are meeting compliance on that swimming pool and then you have a spa and you have a portable lift, it is a situation where you would not want to oversell them until the gray areas are spelled out. So providing two 2 points of access to the swimming pool. As long as one of those is portable, you could still get away with 2 lifts until these gray areas are spelled out.
Perfect. Well, thank you. That's been. We have a number of facilities that do have multiple bodies of water in the same room, so that was it's been a very common question. And then finally, I mean, as far as potential cost between an anchored lift and a portable lift, I mean, what?
That is a huge part of a lot of the local hotels and schools. Obviously, we're in an economy where everybody wants to go with the cheapest. Finding out what your deck anchor costs are is probably going to be the most important thing. And comparing our PAL lift, which is completely portable, does not require any kind of deck anchoring, versus our access and our splash lift require deck anchoring. And we did a national average cost just to core drill and sink and anchor is approximately $400 per anchor. And then in most municipalities, because it has to be bonded, you're going to have to pull permit, which costs, and then you're going to have an electrician present. Now, in some of the municipalities, this just arose last week in St. Louis County, Missouri, they are going to require a 3-by-3 section of concrete be torn up. Now, if there are 2 anchors being dug, one by a spa and one by the pool, now you're going to have 2 sections where your pool deck has to be broken, and an electrician has to be present in order for that to pass inspection. So that would supersede the cost of just purchasing a PAL pool lift.
You've kind of hit on the head. That's what we've seen some of the people look at already. They're like, geez, do I want to start tearing my deck up and go through all this, or just get the portable and I can wheel it around, store it, and what have you. So.
And the portable lift sets up in about 20 to 30 minutes. Our other lifts set up very quickly also, but then you have the deck anchoring. The other benefit of the PAL is it can be covered and put over in a corner, which is away from the obstruction of the pool until it needs to be put in use.
Well, Belinda, I appreciate taking the time. I'm going to have, for everybody listening in, I'm going to have Belinda's contact information in our newsletter this month. So if you have any questions, Belinda's a great source, and obviously she mentioned the www.poollist.com, and again, SR Smith has done a wonderful job in educating the public on what needs to be done. So Belinda, I really appreciate you taking the time.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Take care, Belinda. Thank you. Bye-bye.